we in the tourism industry are bitterly unhappy. I mean, what we've been promised on Friday is not a reopening, but an announcement of when eventually they might get round to doing something, all of which is entirely inappropriate. I mean, we have two main issues at the moment. Ireland is closed to tourism for two reasons. One, we have this ridiculous rule that UK visitors must quarantine at home for 14 days when they can flood across the border with Northern Ireland with wild abandon. So the restriction on UK visitors is unwarranted, particularly when the UK yesterday is now at 75% of its adult population has been vaccinated. And the second issue is we have this bizarre and completely useless hotel quarantine restriction, where we have about 40 countries on the list. Now, the only ones we care about are the European countries for obvious reasons. But we have visitors from France, Belgium and Luxembourg must stay in a hotel for 14 days, but visitors from all the other EU countries don't have to stay there. We then put countries like Angola, Congo, Kenya, Rwanda and Zambia on our quarantine list when there's no direct flights from any of those countries anyway. So it is completely useless. It has had no effect. The Indian variant has arrived here while this hotel quarantine is in place. And all we're doing is we're saying to the world that Ireland is closed for business. Now, we have been calling on Eamon Ryan, who is without doubt one of the worst transport ministers we've ever had in our history, to come up with a plan. The plan is reasonably simple. UK arrivals should be allowed in here without restriction from the end of May, from the 1st of June. That's where most of our Irish people are working, living. It's where you would be able to reunite most of families. And they will come in here with the benefit of 80% vaccination. They're way ahead of us. And the EU arrivals, and I think this is where I object to some of the NEFIT kind of commentary, they keep classing international travel as it's all one amorphous lump, and it isn't. EU arrivals should be allowed into Ireland unrestricted from the 1st of July, when Ireland will be about 80% vaccinated and most of Europe will be 80% vaccinated as well.
I suppose the counter-argument to that, and there'll be lots of people listening today who'll agree, the counter-argument would be, what about the variants, particularly this Indian variant, which there are concerns that maybe the vaccine, and particularly those who only have one dose of the vaccine, won't be properly covered by it. And we could be opening ourselves up to a whole heap of trouble if we do that.
Yeah, I know, but we've had this variant scariant theme coming out of NEFID. First it was the South African variant, then it was the Brazilian variant, then it was the Kent variant. The vaccines are effective against all known variants, including the latest one, which is the Indian variant. There will be other variants coming. Ireland's population at the end of June will be 80% will have received the first vaccine. The first vaccine provides significant defence against the Indian variant. The second vaccine, which follows on, and to be fair, they're doing a great job on the vaccine rollout. The second variant will be effective. Once you've had the second dose, you're 80-90% effective. We will have that level of dosage by the end of June, which is why we're saying, by the end of June, which is why we're saying from the 1st of June, allow in all the UK visitors, and from the 1st of July, all European visitors. The long-haul travel to the southern hemisphere from Asia, fine, by all means have a different dates on those. But the British should be allowed in here from next week. They're allowed in here across the border with no restrictions whatsoever, and the Europeans, who will be 80% first dose vaccinated by the end of June, should be allowed in for the 1st of July. And if we don't, our tourism industry is on its knees. Like, it's easy for Ryanair. We can move aircraft out of Ireland as we have. Aer Lingus are moving aircraft out of Ireland. But our tourism industry is going to be devastated. People will say it's okay, the staycationers will take care. They will take care of hotels in the south and in the west. But the massive number of hotels and tourism industry we have in Dublin, nobody is taking a staycation in Dublin. We need UK visitors and European visitors if you're going to get the vast majority of hotels and our tourism attractions in Dublin open, because the staycationers are not going to come to Dublin for their holidays.
The mandatory hotel quarantine, it seems that Dáil is going to vote this week to extend it for another 3 months until September. Is that an overreaction in your view?
Well, I mean, it's utterly pointless and useless. You know, it serves no purpose. It doesn't keep any variants out. The Indian variant got here while the mandatory hotel quarantine was in place.
Might we have more cases? Might we have had more cases if we didn't have that?
No, we won't. We have no direct flights from India. I mean, what's the point of having there is absolutely no point in having a hotel quarantine on visitors from Angola, Zambia, Zimbabwe and Rwanda, when we've no flights from those countries. They're all going to get here through Europe or through the UK. They can come here at the moment through Northern Ireland. The hotel quarantine was a very ill-judged measure, dreamt up by largely the opposition parties, and our government were not lacking a couple of vertebrae to be able to explain to people hotel quarantine doesn't work and it won't keep out variants. Vaccines are the future here. And we keep complaining. Why? We have a Minister for Transport, Eamon Ryan. Now, he falls asleep in the Dáil, and in our view, he's been asleep in his office for most of the last 18 months. He has had on his desk from the aviation industry a 10-point recovery plan since July last year, nearly 12 months ago. None of it has been implemented. He has done nothing. I had to listen to him yesterday on Newstalk. And, he's a nice man. He means well, but he's utterly ineffective. All that you get is we'll have more discussions, we'll have more talks.
Are you being a little unfair to him? Are you I mean, he has to balance everything. Yes, he's Minister for Transport, but he's also a cabinet minister that has to try and save people's lives in this country.
The vaccines are saving people's lives. If you look, yesterday we had, thankfully, just over 100 people in hospitals and we had less than 40 people in ICUs. The vaccines have done that, not the government. We will have 80% of our population will have received their first dose vaccine by the end of June. It's a phenomenal success. We now should have a plan. The government on Friday, Micheál Martin, if he had any leadership, should be out on Friday saying UK visitors can come in here next Monday. They can already come over the border from the Northern Ireland, and we're welcoming EU visitors, just EU visitors. We're not seeing everybody international travel, just EU visitors on the 1st of July. That would give our tourism industry, our hotels, our tourism attractions an opportunity to recover through July, August and September. But at the moment, Eamon Ryan is saying, well, we'll wait for the EU system and that might be announced in July and it might take us 6 weeks to implement. The summer will be over. The kids will be back in school by the time Eamon Ryan comes up with a plan. We need the plan now. Last week, the Portuguese government said they were welcoming in UK arrivals because the UK is so heavily vaccinated. The Spanish government said no restrictions on UK arrivals. We're the only European country with restrictions on UK arrivals, despite the fact that we've an open border with the UK.